show who you are. Good riddance. Is your kid in bit the forbidden? As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, I'm forgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, fades I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era of a glance in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. That's enough of that for right now, because I don't even feel like listening to that right now. I'm sorry, y'all. I know people be looking forward to the intro, but you know, we're just trying to get through this and shoot the shit. Tonight, I have some wonderful panelists joining me tonight. But before I introduce them to the stage, I want to talk about what we will be talking about and discussing tonight. We will dive deep into the complexities of mental health, the pitfalls of misdiagnosis, and the role drugs plays in our in our lives. We will navigate the delicate balance between self-medication and seeking professional help while shedding a light on the often overlooked effects of trauma. So you guys put on your seatbelts, buckle up, because it's finna be a bumpy ride. No, I'm joking a little bit. Good afternoon, evening. Hit. Do I just call you Hit?
Either way, it don't matter.
How you doing tonight?
Good, and yourself?
I'm fine. Yeah, you guys, Hit's on the panel. Thank you for joining us. And then we also have T. Lachey on the panel. How you doing tonight, T. Lachey?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. Just living life like it's golden, I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I did want to do this show about mental health because it has home for a lot of us, you know, and we've all dealt with someone that we know personally or even ourselves when it comes to mental health. Then too, also wanted to shed a light on self-medications as well as misdiagnosis and things of that nature. So before I go into any questions, what do you guys think about the current state of our mental health in our community? There.
Personally, I believe it's in shambles. I believe that not enough resources are allocated toward mental health. Society is causing a lot of entertainment and self-gratification, and I think that is really having a profound effect on mental health because it's being overlooked. Hello?
I'm sorry, my mic was muted. I'm over here talking and stuff. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. T. Lachey?
I agree, but I also see it sad on the other side where there's a lot of mentally ill people who know they're mentally ill and they won't do what it takes to help themselves. They've become quite comfortable with where they are, and which is still sad in itself, but you know, a lot of times they're aware enough to where they can say no, so you can't force them.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's basically seeking the right forms for you. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how do you think societal perceptions of mental health contribute to the prevalence of misdiagnosis?
Personally, I think society plays a big role because of the stipulations or stigma, for lack of a better word, that comes with being either diagnosed or perceived as having mental health problems. I think that it makes people more reluctant to seek help because of the stigma that's placed on.
Right. Thanks for joining. I mean, thank you for that, Hester. I just want to introduce Yaya to the stage. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you guys?
Um, are we
Doing
okay?
good, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you came in just at the beginning, so you really haven't missed nothing. I was going to ask T. Lachey, and then I'll come to you. How do you think societal perceptions of mental health contribute to the prevalence of misdiagnosis? T. Lachey?
I think it plays one of the most majorly important roles because as it started with the generational curses, they didn't know what it was back then. So, as in black and white, if you were breaking bottles, you threatened someone, there are certain things that people would do that identified with you can't be normal. Something has to be mentally wrong with you. But in fact, a lot of it is just from the fact that people felt entitled. They were selfish. They were narcissists. They're just living through the mental perspective of brokenness. And in some cases, it does make them feel like they can lash out, they can do things. Does not mean that they are mentally crazy. Um, that's not a medicated crazy to me. And it's out here more than I think people realize and recognize that you don't have to be crazy to do crazy things. You just have to be hurt and angry enough and you can do it. Now, I don't speak for those who, are cannibals, things like that. I'm not saying that. I'm speaking about the misdiagnosis of bipolar and certain other ones in retrospect to it really being a misdiagnosis because of the questions that they ask. And that's a personal level for me and
Mm-hmm.
being misdiagnosed. When you don't know, you don't know. But when you know, you can then look back and say, there's nothing wrong with me. This is what was wrong with me. But all these questions that they ask, they fall in line with people who have been diagnosed with bipolar. I
Oh,
couldn't tell you the names that they put on me, but
mhm.
nowhere's close. I'm
Ho-
perfectly
ho-
fine and was then too.
Hold on, because you're leaning into another question that I had. So
Mhm.
get a second in. Let me see what Yaya has to say about the question. How do you think societal perceptions of mental health contribute to the prevalence of misdiagnosis?
Uh, can you hear me? It's like choppy.
It's a little
Can you
choppy,
hear me?
but yeah, it's choppy. What happened?
I don't know. Hold on.
Okay. Well, while she's doing,
Yours is
yeah, okay. I was just while she's doing that and getting her audio together. Let me introduce to the stage, respectfully disrespectful. How are you doing tonight?
Good morning, Nika. Or good morning. Good afternoon. I'm doing good. Huh?
Yeah.
Hey, panel. How is everybody?
Good,
We
thank you. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Yeah, so tonight's topic, and because you came in a little bit late, but I think you know the topic a little bit. So we're gonna just be diving into the complexities of mental health, the pitfalls of misdiagnosis, and the roles that drug play in the lives of those that suffer from mental health, like self medication. Also, stigmas and the challenge that people with mental health deal with. And so the first question is, how do you think societal perceptions of mental health contribute to the prevalence of being misdiagnosed? Respectfully disrespectful.
In the Black community, because they feel like we can take a lot and deal with a lot. Sometimes our complaints and things are not validated or even followed through with. So you have a lot of people that go in and express certain things, and the doctors just disregard it, like, oh, you're just looking for a way out or a check. And because they don't want to, challenge the doctor, a lot of times they accept it and keep going, knowing something is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is deep. I did want to share some videos, but I'm gonna hold off until I get to maybe like the third question. Can you guys share experiences with misdiagnosis and how it affected your journey towards healing? And I'll start with you, T. Lachey.
Yes. Okay, so I am and I was a part of the generational curses of brokenness that I do know. Um, so the reason that it could possibly look generational is for that reason. I know that they call it hereditary sometimes, but that's why it's hereditary. Only because as broken parents, you're raising broken children. So therefore, they more than likely will do what they were raised to do, and that looks like it's hereditary more so than generational. But back in 2006, I was broken, didn't know it, making mistakes, living through life. It was the perception that I had that I grew up with of life and people. And, going through certain things and emotions. Well, it got to a point to where one of my children's father was stalking me. He would call me, tell me where I was, what I was wearing, where I've been. He would sit out in my parking lot. And so the mental for me of that, I was getting fed up at this point. I had already been through prior a 7-year physically abusive relationship. So through life, with everything that I've been through piling up at this point, I was ready to kill him. And so that's what I told this specific person. At this point, I'm ready to kill him. So they called me a counselor. And to shorten it, I go see a therapist. Now, this therapist gives me these forms, and they ask you questions like, if you were standing in a grocery line and you heard um, someone calling you a name, talking about you, so to speak, how would you react? Well, because I was broken, my reaction is going to be an ignorant response. But because of that, to them, something wrong with you. So, again, to just in these kinds of questions, the types of questions that they were asking, if being honest, which I was in my brokenness, they're all going to be either ignorant, unnecessary, over the top. So therefore, it's something wrong with you. So one of the things she told me is that um, I didn't have respect for authority, only because I believe that your title does not earn you respect. You respect me, I respect you. I don't respect you because of what your title is. If you are disrespecting me, I will disrespect you back. So for that, she said I had no respect for authority. And she ended up, at the end of the day, diagnosing me with a bunch of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
because at a turning point for me in my life, I just felt God was saying, stop claiming it. So I did. But once I learned to know what brokenness was, those things about me that she claimed, all of them that fell into her diagnosis, were all things that I have changed and could change. And I think that anybody in certain situations like this, not the ones that, like I said, that are out here that are truly having a mental disease and disorder by brain defect, but those of us who exhibit traumas in our life and we just go wild and crazy because we've been hurt, because somebody cheated on us, because of this, and you go and set somebody on fire, you go and slash tires, break windows, you're wanting to stab some, those are just things. A lot of the times you're not mentally crazy, you're just entitled to feel in that brokenness that, oh, this person owes me to do me better. They did me wrong. I don't like it. I'm tired of it, from multiple areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's where that came in at for me. I know that that was a misdiagnosis because my life has since changed that I did on my own with my work with God. But I'm just saying, this is a lot of the times what it is.
Mm-hmm. Let me introduce Mike Everett to the stage. Good evening, Mike. How you doing?
How y'all doing this evening?
We're doing fairly well. We were just talking about mental health and self misdiagnosis at the moment, but we will be going deeper into the mental health arena. I just want to introduce you to the stage. Right now, we're on the question of oh God, I asked, can you guys share experience with being misdiagnosed, I'm sorry, and how it played a role in your life?
Well,
Uh,
actually, I did have an instance once when I was younger.
mhm,
Um, Growing up in the 90s was kind of weird. Back during the whole ADD craze, everybody just assumed that, you know, if your grades were slipping, that you had ADD or some type, ADHD or something like that. And they were always trying to prescribe you with Ritalin.
mhm,
And so back when I was younger, um, I used to be one of those that had, a real active imagination. And I used to do what, people refer to as daydreaming a lot.
mhm,
And so my parents ended up taking me to these people, and they, actually diagnosed me with ADD. And so they gave me some Ritalin, and like it was completely wrong. Like I realized it when I was young, but really didn't have a full grasp or understanding of what, saying what was wrong with the whole situation. But as I was taking the medication, I just kept falling asleep, stuff like that. And I would just have these blackouts where I just could barely remember what happened during the day whenever
mhm.
I was on the medication, because I was just so zoned out, saying so medicated, so heavily medicated, that I just couldn't remember, saying what I went through during the day.
Mm.
And eventually I just stopped taking it on my own. But, of course, my parents couldn't really afford the medication, when I was younger. So they stopped buying it. But what it actually ended up being is what they call OCD, not ADD.
Mm.
OCD is like obsessive compulsive disorder, which
Mhm.
is just a number of, variable circumstances and conditions they can apply to it. But that's pretty much all it was, is just me just having an overactive, that part of the brain that controls your imagination and images and stuff like that. I just have an overactive portion. And
Okay.
so, me being diagnosed like that and given medication, it was just like uh, an adverse reaction. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. And, saying just complete misdiagnosis on their part. But like I said, things worked out because I stopped taking it. And like I said, my parents couldn't afford to get it anymore. So it just, kind of faded out.
Okay. Thank you for that input, Mike. Yaya, can you share an experience of with misdiagnosis, whether it was yourself or someone you knew, and how it affected your journey towards healing?
Well, I personally have never been misdiagnosed, but I did experience from my dad being sick. When he first became sick, um, before he was sick, he was taking a lot of pain medication. And when he became sick, he didn't get the pain medication anymore, and he was going through withdrawal symptoms. And he was manic and all kind of stuff. And I would tell the doctors that he's going through withdrawals, but they would be saying that he's schizophrenic and he's doing this and he's doing that. And they gave him the medicine, and I took him off the medicine, and he's doing fine because he was going through withdrawals, just like I told him he was not schizophrenic or any of that they diagnosed him with. But he has a whole slew of misdiagnosis in his chart right now.
Mm. Thank you for sharing. Respectfully disrespectful, can you share your experience with misdiagnosis and how it affected your journey towards healing, if you ever experienced it with a family member, friend, or anything like that, or yourself?
So I was never misdiagnosed for mental. I at one point they thought I was having seizures, so I used to take medications for that. Now that made me mental because you become comatose and you don't feel like you're a part of society. But I've never had like a diagnosis for any type of outside of that. I've never been misdiagnosed, thankfully.
Mm. Okay. Thank you for your input. Hister or hitman or hitter or hit them hard.
All of that, all of that.
Um,
I think for me, in my personal experience with the mental health world, I feel like it was a sham.
mm,
I've dealt with psychiatrists or whatnot. They weren't voluntarily, and I felt that I was easily or able to manipulate the psychiatrist, which to me proves to be a scam in itself. I think in that world, it's been more about profit than help, and the prescribing of all these different type of drugs that don't do anything but basically sedate you.
mm,
I really believe, through my personal experience, that whole type of, that profession has turned into a scam.
mm. Yeah, pharmaceutical wise. Go ahead, guys, and discuss. I'm gonna look for this video and share it.
Let me just say this from my experience as a nurse. I have been a nurse for what, like for 15 years, and I have passed out so many medications, and I have never seen not one medication work besides not a psych med. I've never seen it work. All it does is mask the symptoms, and you take another one and keep masking it, but it never actually helps you at all.
And I agree with Theron wholeheartedly because a lot of times, if you also notice some of the patients, like you said, you knew what your father was going through, Yaya. A lot of people will say, I don't feel right. There's a reason why. Because if you literally have a defected brain and something they give you for that should work for that. But when there's nothing defectively wrong with it and they give you something for it, you're going to feel out of sorts. You're going to feel like this is not me. I'm not here. Like you're going to feel outside of yourself.
Yes, I experienced that with my dad. They put him on so many medications, and he didn't need any of them at all.
Hmm.
And the medication that they was giving him was just making him act more crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's to keep money coming in, big
That's
pharma,
definitely.
and make
I,
for them to make money as psychologists.
I do agree with that because I mean, just from me, my personal experience, I've never seen, a pharmaceutical psychological drug that was supposed to alter the effects of the mind and actually have a positive outcome to it. Like there's no drug that exists that says if you have Alzheimer's, you can take this and you'll be better.
Right.
Like
Okay, so I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
pharmaceutical is watching this. You might be targets.
You said what now?
I said,
True that.
watching this, we might be targets.
Yeah, just just control what comes out your mouth. I want to share this screen here. I'm not responsible for what comes out anybody's mouth. I'm only responsible for the questions that I ask.
Don't
Okay.
care now.
So let me play this real quick. This is a
Sure. The mother diagnosis of ADHD was ADD,
uh,
attention deficit disorder, which I believe the American Psychiatric Association gave us in 1990. And then in the year 2000, it metamorphosed into ADHD. So it went from ADD for about 10 years and then ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. In the original version, it was only attention deficit. They added the hyperactivity later. That became necessary to justify the wholesale drugging of Black boys. See, there is no drug that can make you pay attention. So when you diagnose a child as ADHD, you really don't open up an opportunity for the prescription to be given. But once you add hyperactivity, now you're talking about a behavioral manifestation that can be addressed with medication. So the ADHD became necessary in order for the drug companies to profit off of the diagnosis. And ADHD has spiraled out of control now because everyone thinks that they are expert in giving the diagnosis. Teachers, parents, principals, everyone thinks that just because a child has difficulty sitting still or paying attention, they automatically have ADHD. Some of that has to do with the fact that the criteria for ADHD is so generally laid out that anyone could qualify for it. You, me, and every child in America, Black, white, purple, rich or poor. Symptoms such as losing things necessary to complete their work, not being able to pay attention to detail, having difficulty playing quietly, blurting out answers, moving as if they're driven by a motor, tapping with their fingers or feet. What child do you know doesn't do this? I do it as an adult. And from a conspiracy perspective, that's done on purpose, because the more general the criteria, the easier it is to diagnose, the more children get prescribed medicine. And as a result of that, Wall Street is making about $30 billion a year exclusively off of ADHD medications.
Okay, you guys, what you guys think about that? Feel free to chime in, anybody.
I
He
agree.
he is telling
y-
100% the 100% truth.
yeah, I was just talking
Big,
about
big
my situation with
pharmaceutical
that, and
business.
like there, like I said, my experience with Ritalin, it does not work at all. The only thing it does is just put you to sleep. It just makes you docile. And like he just said, he was telling the absolute truth. There's no drug that can make you sit down and pay attention. And the only thing those drugs actually do is they, like I said, they're designed to make you docile. And all the conditions that he was describing that they listed as ADD and ADHD, just like I said, they turned around and nowadays they actually list that as what they call OCD. The tapping of your feet, tapping of your fingers is just, compulsive habits. And they just come in the various, what I'm saying, lists. But yeah, they used a lot of that stuff to push the pharmaceutical industry to have a lot of kids like myself, what I'm saying, have our parents just scared. Okay, what's going on? He's doing this, he's doing that. Oh, he has ADD. We had to give him some medication. Next thing you know, they down there paying $100 a bottle.
Hmm. Yeah, you were saying something. Thank you for sharing, Mike. Yeah, what you think about the video?
I was saying that he is telling the truth, and I know from being a nurse that anytime you write a prescription for a psychiatric medication, there has to be a manifestation. And the reason why they changed the name from ADD to ADHD, hyperactivity, and they made the manifestation list so general to where it can be anything, and they diagnose you with it so that they can give you the medication and profit off of it.
Mm, mm. Let me introduce Ifa to the stage. How you doing? Am I pronouncing that right? Ifa.
Yeah, you're pronouncing it right. It's Ifa.
Okay. So how you doing
Yes.
tonight, sir?
I'm doing okay, and thank you, and peace to the chat. Oh,
Okay. I did want to get to hits what did you think about the video that I just showed?
I think he's definitely right on certain points, but we can't deny that certain people do need medications because of chemical imbalances in the brain in certain people. But like just because you see certain behaviors in children or whatever doesn't mean that they definitely need medication.
Hmm. Right. Respectfully disrespectful. What you think about the video? Is she there? Okay, Hista, what you thought about the video that I showed?
I mean, it just basically just backs up what I was saying about it being more about the money than the treatment. I think when I look at it and listen to the video, it makes me believe or see another perspective as the pharmaceutical company is basically, just in my opinion, I'm black, I'm going to speak on black, is another weapon. They've been weaponized against us because, once again, like they said, we're making that such broad generalization of what qualifies you to fall up under these type of diagnoses and whatnot. I just say it's like an extreme attack on us as a people, and also they're making money off of us. So it's twofold for them. And it's just my opinion that we stay away from if it has anything to do with medication. You know,
Mm-hmm.
difference in going in to try to, discuss problems or traumatizations that you've gone through and try to figure out ways to accept and deal with those. That's one part of it. But when it comes to the medication, there is no medication that can make you be right. You know what I'm saying? Everything that they're basically putting out there to sedate you, kick you off to the side and get paid under.
All right. Tina Shay, what did you think about the video?
I agree 100%. Even like I said, as a person being misdiagnosed, and you know, and big pharma is, it's not just with this, but with weight loss, with a lot of things. But I also think that in order to keep them going, they have to have patience, because if something else heals you, you won't be back. How
Mm.
else can they keep you coming back but to write you a prescription and keep seeing you? You know, and he told the absolute truth. I just truly agree with it.
Okay, I didn't get respectfully disrespectful answer, but she keep popping on and off, so I don't know. She might have some technical difficulty.
Okay,
But
let me just say this to you guys. This is how it goes. Like when a patient comes into you, you ask every patient the same questions. They go to their room, whatever. If they start yelling, if they begin to scream, if they act out in any type of way, you call the doctor. You tell the doctor what the patient is doing. They prescribe the patient medication without even knowing the patient, without knowing if the patient is afraid, without knowing if the patient maybe had just went through something. They treat every single person the same. They give every all mainstream medication. It does not matter. They do not care.
and what about and this not even on my question list, but what about the mothers that try to get their children diagnosed to get that SSI check?
Girl, that's the saddest thing to me. I cannot
Munchausen
stand them.
syndrome, probably.
I cannot stand them. And I know
They
someone like that that has
I do
all six
too.
of the kids on medication.
I
they
know.
Sister,
might be getting them sick to act like they healing them by helping them. They might
Mm.
have a
sister,
disorder themselves.
sister Mika,
Yes,
can I ask you to do something?
yes, sir, Ifa.
Can you please pull up Ritalin?
Oh, do you want me to
And,
pull
and
up? Really?
yeah, and the effect that it has on the human brain, and how does it help control?
I hope I'm spelling it right.
Yeah, Ritalin.
Oh, I put D, like the Riddler. RIT.
Now, I will
That's
say
okay.
that my niece has a similar condition when it comes to her OCD,
Mm.
and my brother ended up getting her on a prescription, and it's called Focalin. Now, I will say that that is a different type of pharmaceutical drug when it comes to um, how they medicate certain individuals,
Mm.
because it doesn't actually make you docile. It, in a weird way, it kind of does help you. It pretty much makes you single track, but it kind of makes you feel like you're more hyperactive than anything else. It, saying, helps you kind of, I want to say stay. I don't want to say stay focused, but it gives you kind of more energy. Saying, to
It's more of
complete
an
whatever
upper than
task.
a downer.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Oh wow! Now I didn't go to Ifa. I didn't go to the directions yet, but I just want to go through the Ritalin side effects first, and then I'll delve into the effects they have on the brain. But these are the side effects alone, right? Headache, dizziness, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, cough, dry mouth, difficulty with speaking, palpitation, hypertension, chest pain, double vision, chills, decreased interest in sexual interaction, sweating, difficulty swallowing, psychomotor agitation, insomnia, decreased weight, anxiety, confusion, drowsiness, dark union, urine, and fever. That's crazy. The side
See,
effects.
yeah, I actually when I was taking, that's two of the side effects I experienced was drowsiness
Mm,
and confusion. I said
uh,
I actually had blank spots in my memory where I just couldn't remember anything that went on during the day because I was just so out of it.
See, me,
yeah.
what
Yeah,
people,
I have to see kids on Ritalin. They so spaced out.
Oh wow, it's crazy.
Mika,
Huh.
comes to the side effects and the list of side effects, the reason that you see so many is because they have to list those, because what it does is it allowed the FDA to approve all of these psychoactive drugs without having real studies on them. So what
Mm,
they said was back in the 90s was if you list these side effects, then we'll approve these drugs a lot faster than what was actually taking place in the past. It would take you almost 20, sometimes up to 30 years to get a drug approved. But they list these as kind of like releasing us from liability and improving these. So because they say all those side effects doesn't mean that what's going to happen, but they're covering their asses by listing something to you.
Yeah, Ritalin was completely experimental when they released it in the 90s. As I said, as you know, as I was growing up in the 90s, I was one of those kids that, got put on it, and I said, yeah, they pretty much experimented on us.
I mean, and that's what anything that's came out from the 90s up has been experimental drugs. And for the pharmaceutical to be able to
get set up for therapy.
I'm sorry.
For the pharmaceuticals to be able to make the money that they was made, they had to be able to release them. But,
Right.
According to the standards that was pre-90s. So it allowed them to be able to blow up like they did. They got this sort of waiver. Would just say that as long as you alert the people that something like this can happen, then we're going to head and approve whatever you put out there. And that's how they make it.
Well, what year did Ritalin come? What year was Ritalin approved?
I don't that. Let me see. I could look it up, but I know.
See, the reason why I ask a lot of questions because we can say a lot of things, and like I said, I wanted to understand how Ritalin controls the brain and why is it used for.
Yeah, so from what I see there, it's a Ritalin controls the brain. It stimulates it increased the amount of dopamine released in your striatum.
Mm-hmm. And another chemical as well in the brain.
Right. I'm just looking at.
What is it?
No, you're doing an excellent job. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at different sources. I'm sorry. So I'm trying to see what is it saying. So both methylphenidate and cocaine are in the class of drugs known as psychostimulants. So it's so while methylphenidate, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, is widely prescribed, this study highlights the need for more research into its long-term effect of the brain. Studies today suggest that prescribed use of the methylphenidate, I can't pronounce this word, in patients, this is the same thing as Ritalin though, in patients with ADHD does not increase their risk for subsequent addiction. However, non-medical use of the drug and other stimulant medications can lead to addiction as well as a variety of Ritalin effects, a variety of other health consequences. So it's a stimulant like cocaine. Let's see.
It doesn't seem like a stimulant. It seems like a depressant.
Yeah.
It does.
It depends on the dosages as well in each person.
I didn't
effects
feel like I was stimulated.
Right, but I mean, when we list side effects, it's just not that they're trying to cover themselves. They have to list what side effects can. I mean, they just don't test medications in like they have clinical trials, so that could take time. It's not like they're just just throwing medicine on people and say, okay, we got to list the side effects just so we can clear ourselves. No, that's not true at all.
No, those things actually have happened to people.
No. I'm not denying that.
Well,
that's not what I said.
The thing is, I think that what their Hista was basically saying is that the FDA, they approve so many drugs, whether it's good for us or not, as long as they list the side effect. That means they could put stuff on the market as long as the person is aware of the risk, and that makes them clear, and it makes people falsely believe that these drugs are safe.
No, right. That's incorrect.
Why
that's incorrect. Okay, so does Tylenol have side effects?
Yes.
How long has Tylenol been on the market? I think prior to 90s.
And it's also an aspirin.
Okay,
but it does Ritalin, come with side effects.
Okay, thank you. So Ritalin was before the 90s. Do you know that?
Yeah, Ritalin was synthesized in 1944 and
Thank you.
patented in 1954.
So how many clinical trials did they go through? I mean, it's just not like they just pushing it on people all of a sudden.
Okay, well, you're speaking specifically to Ritalin. I'm speaking about drugs that have been pushed on people with these new diagnoses the last 20 to 30 years.
So
I know
so we have to have a specific, so you're saying drugs in general, or we have to be specific in what
he's
we're
saying recent drugs.
recent
Did you watch
drugs
the
that do
did,
what?
did you watch the video that I
Recent
showed? Or I'm
No,
just
I
asking.
just had cut in, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
recent Okay, go ahead.
So he was referencing what Dr. Umar was saying in the video.
So
So do you want me to replay it so you can kind of see?
what drugs in particular was he talking about?
Okay,
Like
say
Adderall?
what I believe he's talking about. I don't believe he's talking about any drug in specific. He's just saying recently, since the 90s or since whenever, a long time ago, they would have clinical studies for a very long time on these drugs. But now, as new drugs come out, they might study it for a short period of time, but they're not doing it so in depth as they used to. So they list all these side effects to clear it faster than what they would originally do or what they would have to do in order to put it out.
And I
Does that
think mainly we also like need to make sure it's not necessarily every pharmaceutical company that's saying necessarily involved in trying to push stuff out before they can actually test it and patent it and stuff like that. But there are instances where stuff like that ends up happening. Another instance where I came across was I'm pretty sure some of y'all probably heard of the drug called Tamiflu.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of people
yes.
take that when they get whenever they get the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
About 20 years ago was the last time I ended up catching the flu. Uh, I ended up getting prescribed Tamiflu.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the doctor didn't know too much about me or anything like that, so they didn't do any type of blood work or anything. But it was basically the wrong prescription for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I had, said I experienced some negative side effects when I took it. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell anyone else, oh, no, you shouldn't take that. It almost killed me because,
No,
it
that's
could be the right, saying the right particular thing is for them.
right. But there's another drug right now that's on the market. It's called Ozempic. It originally started off as a diabetic drug to lower the blood sugar, but a lot of people that took it began to lose weight. So now they prescribe it for people to lose weight, but they haven't done a study on it about why it's making people lose weight, what's acting it, what the medication is acting in the body to make the people lose weight. They just know it's making people lose weight, so they're prescribing it to lose weight. So long term, you never know what this medication, how this medication is really acting on your pancreas or whatever else that regulates your blood sugar, because it's also regulating your blood sugar and you don't have diabetes, but it's making you lose weight. So a lot of drugs are being pushed out a lot faster now. I don't know if it's due to the side effects that they're writing it off, but a lot of drugs are being put out there without being clinically studied like that.
Eh,
Also, I just want to bring this to the forefront because most longitudinal studies span for a lifetime of 30 years. So, like, whenever the drug came out, it would take 30 to 40 years before they really understand and can identify the effectiveness of the drug, and also what the side effects are based on that's why I said this is a practice. Every medical field is a practice, and they are practicing on us. You know what I mean? So that's where the
Exactly.
study comes in. Once
Yes.
they get it cleared to do the clinical trials and stuff like that, the mostly the public become the clinical trial. Nine
True.
times out of 10 these days, because used to be they used to do a controlled clinical trial, but now
What
they just
they do clinical trials for every drug that's released to the public. You can look that
that's
up if you
I
think I'm.
I'm sure they do.
I
I
did not
believe
I'm not
they
debating
do.
that. I'm not debating that. I'm
They just
saying
don't. release medications just to the
They
public
actually, okay.
No,
without
There's
I
doing
don't.
certain,
clinical trials.
I
Excuse
don't
me,
believe
Mika,
they
may
do.
I say something?
yes.
Um, I do believe that it's not just doctors because what he was saying, I do believe that doctors will not do their part and give you something. Um, I had thyroid cancer back in 2021, and I had a full thyroidectomy done before the cancer because with thyroid cancer, it was spread to the lungs first before the body. So I had a full thyroidectomy. Now, the hormone medication that I take, it controls the part of the brain where your memory, your concentration, they, and I was a smoker, I smoked cigarettes. He prescribed me a pill called bupropion. But you know what that's treated, who they give those to? People who have depression. So
Mm,
when I first took it to stop smoking, something was not regular. Why
mm,
would you give that to me if I'm already affected in an area of motivation, concentration, focus, and now you want me to be depressed? I stopped taking them. I
Hmm.
took another avenue to try and quit smoking. But that is what is part of the problem. And I think there are various points made here. I can't say specifically because I don't work in a pharmaceutical company to say what they're not doing. But if we have just seen them within 1 year come up with a shot for COVID, then I
mm.
can't believe that they are just shooting out side effects to get this
That's
medication out here really quick.
Thank
that's not
Thank
true
you.
because they were working on COVID through what? What happened in China before COVID came out? What did they have? What,
I believe in the life that I see. They hide things in plain sight. They can tell us anything, does not mean
Mhm.
that's true. I'm speaking from the experiment, the experience of living, taking medication, seeing how quick we got new
oh, they
medications out
did.
on the shelf and things like that. I'm not saying they didn't. What I'm saying is I don't believe every word they say. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, we can say that about anything. We can say, okay, I don't believe this because we're not experts. None of us on here on this
Right,
panel are. But
right.
you have to depend on what? The expert that's medical science. You have to depend on it. And look what COVID has died down. It's not gone anywhere, but people aren't dropping out like flies every time you turn around because of the vaccine. So now you have herd immunity going on.
I don't necessarily believe that it's
My
because of.
mother died of COVID with a vaccination in September of
Oh,
2021.
well. Can I explain something to you? Well, the vaccine doesn't say that you cannot die from COVID,
Okay,
No,
you
but
guys
you
right?
are
just
getting off
mentioned
target.
immunity. It's a
Hold on.
difference.
I'm gonna have to bring y'all back because we switching the conversation and we're not talking about COVID. We're talking about mental health and we're getting off topic. So let me just redirect y'all back to the topic because I don't want it to veer too far off. And make it a debate about what the vaccine did because that is very debatable and everybody have their opinion.
very.
I've heard different stories contrary to Aoife's belief, and I heard different stories contrary to those that don't believe in vaccination. So,
I wasn't really now. Not to cut you off, and not to. I know you want to deal with the dealing with mental health, but I will say this: I'm not talking about a belief. I'm talking about what the experts have
okay,
on
yeah,
record.
there's
What
experts on
So
both
there's
experts?
not a
sides.
Those
belief.
experts lie a lot.
There's
Yes.
Like
experts
I
on both
said,
sides of that
like
spectrum. So, like I said, we're not going to stay on that. Let's talk about this mental health thing.
Me,
I got some more
me,
questions, huh?
real quick. Did you take
Uh,
the vaccination?
no.
You're still alive, right? I didn't
Yes,
take the vaccination
and
either.
I contacted COVID, but I
I'm
only contacted COVID after somebody who gave it to me who was vaccinated.
okay, but you're still alive without the vaccination, right? I'm
Yeah.
I'm still alive too without the vaccination.
Mm.
Anybody else on the panel still alive without the vaccination?
I
in
am.
comparison to how many in the
Okay, okay,
population?
there you go.
In comparison,
So,
no, you have to
hey,
look at that. You just can't
no,
go by
real,
one or
I'm
three
moving
people.
on to my next question, please. I'm not going
Gary,
to be stuck on COVID vaccines, please. Thank you. Respect that. Thanks. Okay, now In what ways do drugs, both prescribed and recreational, impact mental health and exacerbate existing conditions? Who wants to go first on that? Hister?
I mean, like you say, the whole thing with the prescribing of drugs is debatable across the board. Everybody is different, grew up in different circumstances and different things. I can speak on a time when I personally was prescribed a drug called Depakote, which is used to prevent or control seizures. I was given that or prescribed that drug because I was diagnosed with explosive mood disorder. They told me I had explosive mood disorder basically because if you fuck with me, I took off on you. So they felt like that was a problem because that's the way I dealt with things of that sort. You're giving me a drug that is prescribed for seizures and claiming that this drug can also help me with my so-called explosive mood disorder, which actually, like I explained to you before, was just a sham. So I have no trust.
What about recreational drugs? How does that impact mental health?
Well, I don't do drugs at all, period. So, and I do believe that anything that alters your original mind state is a problem, period. So I believe in them, and I think that they do have a wide impact.
Right. Because we're getting into the self-medication, so I want to touch on that. Yeah. In what ways do drugs, both prescribed and recreational, impact mental health?
Because
Does it help or does it,
they further chemically imbalance the brain. Like, even if it's prescribed medication, it may balance the brain for the moment while you're on the medication, but when you get off, your brain is going to be really out of whack. So it just, and recreational drugs the same. It just further, it might make you feel good for the moment, but it's just further imbalancing your chemicals in your brain.
Right. Oh, and just for the record, Aoife, we do have a professional on here, Yaya, who's been a nurse, registered nurse for I don't know how long, since I've been knowing the child. So she is an expert in what she's talking about.
Well, she's an expert in certain areas, but not in medicine altogether.
She works in medicine. She as a registered nurse.
No. I didn't say she wasn't an expert but I said in a certain field, right?
Okay.
But not chemical compounds, right?
She had to go through those classes to become a registered nurse.
Okay. I
was on because I was going to school to become a registered nurse, and I know I had to take all those classes as well. So yeah, she has to take and I took majority of them. I switched my major almost done. I was almost done, and I switched my major at the last minute. So I do know that she does have to take microbiology, chemistry, organic chemistry, and all those things.
So you don't think mood stabilizers? Okay.
No,
Sure. You take them, but what field do you?
I definitely believe that mood stabilizers stabilize the chemicals in the brain. I believe that it produces serotonin, dopamine. I believe that. But what I'm saying, is it a permanent fix? No. But does it help
it
you?
wasn't
Yes.
made to be that.
Depending on your situation. But just like he said, when you're misdiagnosed and they're like that, Depakote could have caused him to have seizures that he wasn't having before.
Yes.
When he didn't even need it in the
we're
beginning. So he was misdiagnosed. He was given the wrong diagnosis, which made him given the wrong medicine, which wouldn't have helped him. It would have hurt him more if he would have kept taking it.
So you're talking about two different things. You're talking about misdiagnosis and people who really need to be diagnosed.
I don't think you understand that this is not. Wait a minute. First of all, I don't think that you understand that this what the show is about. So let me tell you, it's about mental health, misdiagnosis, and self-medication and medications. So that's what we're talking about.
So I hear what you're talking about.
Not necessarily the people that they're given the right treatment and the right, saying under the right circumstances. But what happens when, like I was speaking on my situation growing up, what happens when people are misdiagnosed and you have to, deal with that issue.
Yeah, but what's the tone was more or less geared to all medications are just being released just to hurt people and targeted towards the black community. That's what I was
Okay.
hearing. I
So
mean, I
the
could be
tone
That
wrong.
was
was
never the tone.
so like okay. So here's the
No, no,
problem.
no. But wasn't it said
Hold
though?
I don't
on.
Wasn't
believe.
it?
I don't believe it
No,
was. It
that
was
was
that way.
never
But
said.
we're
That
just
was
we're
never
just speaking
said.
on us because we're part of the black
First
community,
of
and we're
all,
just speaking on our circumstances of being part of the black community, not necessarily that the pharmaceutical industry is actually targeting the black community, because the same thing happens in the white community. A lot of their kids are actually, being given similar drugs with what's the stuff called? Starts with, what is it, Seroquel, and then
Prozac.
uh it's
Seroquel.
the what's the stuff that start
Prozac,
Adderall.
Adderall,
Adderall.
A
yeah.
lot of
I said that earlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's not like any certain community is actually being targeted. You're actually just talking about corporate industries that are just willing to make money off of anybody under any circumstances.
Also, Aoife, just to catch you up a little bit, I had showed a video of Dr. Umar talking about his experience with young men getting prescribed drugs based off of ADHD and ADD. So Theron and the rest of, because you came in at the end and it sounded like we're going against a certain thing, but at the same time you missing key points as to why you don't understand what's going on. So I'm
No.
gonna move.
Well. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
moving on to another video real quick, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll everybody will be all caught up, right? And we'll understand because we were on particular questions. One was to share your experience with that, and then the next question was to give your opinion about what Dr. Umar was saying, and so that's what people were on when you came in. So let me share this screen. Let's see if this. Let's share this. And then I just want you guys' opinion on what this brother has to say, okay? Wait.
They didn't understand that I was going through
Let me
spiritual.
start
All
over.
right, so I have no idea who this
Hold
creator
on.
is, and I can't try to say I was schizophrenic, but they didn't understand that I was going through a spiritual. All right, so I have no idea who this creator is, and I can't diagnose somebody off of TikTok. But I do want to say that Black patients, African Americans, are misdiagnosed with schizophrenia at a much higher rate than other races. And even if you're not Black and you've been diagnosed with schizophrenia and you question your diagnosis, I think it's always helpful to ask your doctor, ask your provider, can you tell me why you diagnosed me with this and what are the other diagnoses that you were thinking about? So that way you can get more insight into your condition, you can get the best help possible.
Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to go to the original. Sorry, guys. Go back. I'm sorry. Let me stop sharing. Okay, guys, I did want to go to the original video that he duet. Let me just go to that. But go ahead and talks about the little part that you did see.
What does anybody remember the it was what was his name? I think it was Jackson something. But he was a young actor. Used to be on a lot of Nickelodeon shows, stuff like that. And he ended up committing suicide, like
Jet
in his
Jackson.
Jet Jackson, yeah. So he ended up committing suicide in his early 20s over depression.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to stuff like that, it's really hard to say because you want to do something to saying to try to change saying their outlook on life, and sometimes it's saying just really hard to saying try to get them involved. And man, when it comes to stuff like that, taking medication over depression can really be sketchy because sometimes the medication won't have the desired effect. But at the same time, it's like, do you saying run the risk of just not providing them with any type of alternative, even if it's just chemical based? I mean, because just like we were talking about, sometimes it's just altering saying the flow of hormones in their brain. They could just, change their mood. But you'll say it doesn't always have the desired effects. But like I said, are we going to take the risk of not doing anything and just kind of let that person go on? Because this guy was a celebrity. I mean, he wasn't broke. He was doing very well for himself. Great personality, but he suffered from depression. And we see a lot of people that are like that, saying they have these great personalities and, saying we think life is going well for them. They're not struggling, but, they, for some reason, they still have that imbalance. So, saying, what do you do when you get to that point?
Well, so that's why we're also exploring the trauma that a lot of us deal with that contribute to our mental health. Because sometimes the diagnosis of certain mental health is really based off of trauma that we might have experienced, and the problem is we're not getting any coping skills to battle our trauma, or how to heal ourselves, or even to forgive ourselves for something someone else done to us. So it's like we're getting people, and mainly people of color, we haven't really dealt with those type of things. We just keep going. And then on top of that, when we do deal with them, it's like shove some pills down our throat. We need more hands-on treatment, like where there's like more activities given to the patient instead of just shoving pills down their throat. Show them how to put them in like situations where like you could do like a play type of thing where they acting out a situation and they have to learn how to problem solve, because that's the biggest problem. A lot of us never learn any critical thinking skills or problem solving skills.
Well, let me just say this. I know firsthand because I deal with bouts of depression, but I know that mine is premenstrual, so I know what to do. I know myself. I know that I have to work out around that time. I know I can't drink too much around that time. I just know myself. But it's sometimes it's really, really hard. And if a person doesn't know that, because it can be a day, I know that mine is going to pass. So I just know how to deal with it. But sometimes when a person doesn't know that, somebody would probably kill themselves. So that is something that you can't just overlook like that. If a person is depressed, they may need medication, or they may need, just like Mika was saying, people need to be taught coping skills and how to do different things to combat that, and how exercise will help with the dopamine in your brain. So you have to drink water, exercise, and meditate, and all type of different things. But if you don't know that and you just go through something like that, it's going to be very, very hard for you. So people need to be educated.
Yes. Mike, no, Mike was just talking his stuff.
I think, with mental health, I think the biggest problem is the stigma. Like I said, the stigma placed on it. It needs to be changed around. It needs to be more accepting. People need to understand or feel like that they can talk about things openly and not be disrespected or disregarded in a certain aspect of whatever they're going through. We as society, I believe, my personal opinion is that we have these certain standards and we walk with blinders on, and our blinders is controlling how we perceive things based on what other people have told us to do and how to perceive things. And so I think a lot of people that suffer from depression, in my opinion, basically it's coming because, like you say, they don't know how to deal with it, and it's not openly talked about. If it was openly talked about, then we would have an avenue, different avenues on how to address things or deal with certain things that we are going through. And until I believe that it's widely accepted to not be the norm, it's going to continue to be that way. Outside of I think a lot of things, once again, if they're openly talked about and accepted, it would help a lot of people through their depression.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Thank you so much. T. Lachey?
Yes. Well, for me, with the eye of just knowing where I am and seeing a lot of people through my family, friends, and people in general, we were told, and we do know, everything starts where? At
Uh-huh.
home. So if you have a broken parent, that child is being taught broken things. The perception, like Hista said, it is a mental perception of life and people. So even if a child wants to talk about it, how are they going to talk about it? The way that this parent, are they loud? Are they cursing? Are they this? Are they that? The effect of why young children grow up to be teenagers and young adults and older adults who don't know is because, number one, half of them don't even know they have a problem to identify the problem to solve it. So, again, the accountability that has to come from parents to their children, most of them won't admit it, but that's why a lot of them want to commit suicide. My my daughter committed suicide, and the reason why I say committed is because she died for 2 minutes. They brought her back. She came from brokenness. Her mental perception of life and people before I came to the understanding of knowing what it is, how to fix it, how to deal with it, that's where she was at. And that was my fault. I took accountability when I learned it and told them I was here for them to help them fix it. But in that aspect, she couldn't fix her life. She didn't think she had a problem.
That's tough.
Girl.
I know I have experienced something
That
similar.
is 100% the truth, T. Lachey. I
Yes, I
promise
had
you.
to
Because I
acknowledge that
experienced
as a
something,
parent.
the same thing, and I had to acknowledge as a parent that this is what I need to fix because
Yeah.
she couldn't fix it. She
Hmm.
didn't know how to fix it. She didn't even know what was wrong.
Exactly. And you know what they diagnosed her with?
Mm.
PTSD.
Yeah, that was one of my questions too, because it says, what role does childhood trauma play in shaping mental health outcomes later in life? And how can we address these early experiences to prevent long-term effects? Let me start with Ifa. Ifa. Is he there?
Yes, I'm here.
Mm.
Um, I agree with the video before we get into that. That
Sorry,
it
yeah.
could be certain clinician biases when it comes to being diagnosed, African Americans being diagnosed with schizophrenia in general.
Mm.
I believe that's a fact.
Okay. Okay, so but what about
What
the cultural influence, the culture and society? I'm sorry. What role does childhood trauma play in shaping mental health outcomes later in life? And how can we address these early experiences to prevent long-term effects?
wow, wow, that's difficult because you're dealing with. I think it has a major effect. What happens when you're young?
Mm-hmm.
You yeah, yeah, that's deep, and that's not something that can be easily answered. Depends on
Mm-hmm.
the culture in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And like the brother said, a lot of people don't talk about it, especially in our community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was shunned. Oh, they all right. They'll be all right. You'll be okay. Just, you know, go ahead. Everything will be good. But no, that's not the answer because we feel like we can't talk about mental illness in our community. So yeah, I mean, you know, when people are young and they have gone through a traumatic experience, it carries over to when you're an adult. Um, I can't give you the answer on what could be done. I mean, more or less than we have to recognize it and talk about it more, like the brother said. That's the only thing I can say.
Mm-hmm. Mike.
Um, I think it's I think it's more about we have to find a way to try to, to actually confront the issue directly. Um, I had a friend of mine, close friend of mine, went through a situation when his baby mom decided to put him on child support. And well, he ended up falling behind, almost ended up going to jail over the situation. And later on, she, you know, just develops a whole different mentality to the point where she doesn't even want to take care of the little girl anymore. And she pretty much just abandons the little girl, you know, for him to take care of after putting through all that. And a short time later, you know, because he couldn't, you know, actually afford to take care of her at that point in time. So she was staying with his mom. She got to the point where she, you know, was depressed, felt like she was unwanted because, you know, her mom abandoned her, and, you know, she couldn't really understand why her dad couldn't take care of her full time. So she ended up being, you know, admitted to an institution because she attempted suicide. And, you know, after that, you know, I said things look better for him now. So he's, you know, taking care of her full time. But, you know, his way of, you know, addressing the situation was more just about showing her that she was actually accepted and loved, you know what I'm saying, within that environment. Because now he's married and has a whole nother family, you know what I'm saying. And, you know, so she used to be the only child, you know what I'm saying. So now, you know what I'm saying, she's actually a part of a family now and stuff like that. So it, you know, that was his way of treating that situation, because like I said, she got to the point where she felt like she was unwanted, and, you know, nobody wanted to be around her, and now she's a part of a family now. So, you know, so it's really just more so of, you know, we have to find a way to try to solve that issue that they're going through, because it's something along those lines where they just feel like they're, you know, being mistreated, they, you know, saying feel unloved or something like that. So it's something along those lines where, you know what I'm saying, we can find a way to, you know what I'm saying, uh not necessarily stop, you know what I'm saying, that mistreatment or whatever they're going through. Kind of like, you know, if your kid have friends, you know, let their friends come over, let them eat, let them play, because you have no idea what they're really going through, you know what I'm saying, in their personal life. So them being able to come over and just jump around and have fun is probably something that they don't get to experience when they go home. You know, they probably live in a nightmare.
Okay.
So,
thank you, Mike, for that input. Tina Shay, what role does childhood trauma play in shaping mental health outcomes later in life, and how can we address these early experiences to prevent long-term effects?
Um, Unfortunately, not in a bad way, but in the sense for those who didn't have it. Again, I put myself in this position of perspective because I know I'm not the only one, but I think everybody experienced a trauma, because trauma is only what it is to that person. So for me, I was being raised by a broken woman who thought everything she was doing was correct when in fact it wasn't. Um, for me, I didn't turn to drugs. I didn't turn to drinking. I was raped 3 times from the age of 12 to 14. 3 different people, 3 different situations. And for me, I made it through life by pushing it to the back. But the way I spoke was angry, pain filled. It wasn't just nasty, but everything that came off the wrong way. Being cut off, I was cussing. Or if you looked at me the wrong way, it was an issue and a problem. So it literally caused me to make bad choices in relationships. It it's always looking for love, and I don't want to say that I was looking for the love of my father. I didn't have one, not my biological father. Love, unconditional love is love, period. We all possess it as men and women. So it was just a search for love. For me, I didn't ever want to kill myself. I still kept going in life. I wanted something different, something better. But I asked my own self the question to God, what am I doing wrong? I didn't put it off anybody else. What am I doing wrong? And with that, I got the answer to know where I came from through my bloodline of that generational curse. and I chose to fix it. It wasn't easy, but I was able to fix it to become that better person of who I am. And I think that if we can get more people to actually identify as a parent that they are a part of their child's problem when they are this teenager that's doing certain things, being promiscuous, cutting up, things like that, we have to take accountability to even identify that we have a problem so we can help them fix their problem.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Tina Shay. Yaya, are you there with us?
Yes, I am here, and I agree with T. Lachey. I feel like, a lot of parents have trauma that they never addressed, and then it spills over into the child, and they never address the trauma of the child. Children are being dismissed, like go in the room, shut up. Nobody wants to hear what you feel. And with social media being so the way that it is today, these kids know right from wrong. So it's not like how we were when we were growing up. We had a little advantage because we didn't really know. We didn't get so hurt over the things that are we did in the long run, but on the forefront, we weren't trying to kill ourselves and everything because we just thought it was normal. But now social media is letting these kids know that this is not normal. The way your mom don't interact with you is not normal. The way you don't see your father is not normal. So it's taking a I feel like it's taking a bigger toll on the children. And if you don't, you have to combat that by talking to them and letting them know what's really going on. Because if they just looking at social media and they seeing this, but nobody's telling them why their situation is like this, they're feeling a certain type of way and nobody's addressing it. They feel like they don't have an outlet, and that's why they end up doing the things that they do.
Yeah, and you just made me think too, like we constantly keep trying to put everybody in the same box of normal. There's no such thing as normal.
No, there
you
is not.
know? So then like when we think we supposed to be like somebody else instead of being who we are. Like Hista said earlier, our perception of the world that we seen was crafted by someone else, and we're not even
Exactly.
thinking on our own. So when we don't fit in that perception that someone else gave us, we like, dang, we're not normal because
Right.
I don't fit in this ideology or this thought process.
But as a grown woman, you know that. But think about as a young girl.
Right.
Young girls, they don't know that. They just messed up. That's why you have to talk. And in any situation, not just a young girl, but just even with mental health, like the guy said, I think that was hits the, I don't know. But just like he said, the reason why depression, people kill themselves over depression, the reason why mental health is not being dealt with because it's not being talked about. The one thing I can say personally is when you feel like there's nobody else going through what you're going through, but there's so many people around you going through exactly what you're going through, just no one's speaking on it. So everybody's dying inside when really we could be helping each other.
Mm-hmm. That's facts. So we're at the 1 hour and 20 mark. I'm gonna ask uh another question. Oh gosh, these questions are deep. I'm trying to get to a simple one. Okay, I don't know. Okay, let me see. Okay, so that I guess you brings me to this next question. How can we advocate for assist? Oh no, you know what? I'm sorry. I did want to ask.
I just picked up a notepad.
Hold on. Can you discuss the intersectionality of mental health, including how factors such as race, gender, sexuality, and social economic status impact diagnosis and treatment and recovery? Did anybody get that question?
I get it, and the less money you have, the more you are subject to just take whatever they give you. That's how it impacts it. If you the less money you have, you gonna do whatever they tell. The less education you're gonna have, the people around you gonna have less education. They're gonna tell you, man, you better take that. Why you ain't taking your medicine?
Well, let me say this. When I was trying to come up with a thumbnail for this, and I was talking about Black people dealing with mental health, because like I was doing it through an AI generator, right? and I was doing black people. I didn't say male or female, but I noticed that it was nothing but male pictures coming up that the AI generated, and that's very telling. That I think that a lot of black males are being targeted because they are our strength, you know.
They are.
So the way to cut us off as a people, you know, they target our children because they know the children is our future. So they get at our children first to cut us off as a people. And so I can see how that could correlate when it comes to race and gender. That was my answer to that question. Hista, what you got to say?
I basically ran across that. I mean, or spoke about that earlier in the program. But I believe that we are a target. Simple and plain, target in every aspect of life, and pharmaceutical is not exempt from that. You know, I have personal experiences and traumas with that. To go in depth a little bit, my wife had went through some trauma, some depression. She had lost a loved one, and she was prescribed a medication that she had become addicted to. And in the meantime, in between time, that if she could not get this medication, her body would start to have seizures from the lack of, to the point of she ended up having a seizure, lost conscious, and stopped breathing and died from the drugs that was prescribed to her for her depression. You know, so like I say, I have firsthand knowledge of misdiagnosis, what I consider misdiagnosis. Because I mean, damn, if you're prescribing something for one, but then you become addicted to the prescription, something ain't right. Something ain't right about that.
Absolutely.
I'm saying prescription, it causes a whole nother problem.
All of them do.
Led to her death 9 years ago because her body seized up from the lack of those pills that she became addicted to, which was.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sad. I'm sorry for your loss, brother. Are you still talking history?
No.
Oh, okay. So,
oh, and I found respectively disrespectful.
I hate you.
Just pop. So that's what happened to her.
Oh, okay. So she didn't come on to answer none of the questions.
I was getting nails done, Mika. Lost reception. But
okay. I thought she was having bad. She said she lost reception.
She said she was getting her nails done and lost reception.
Okay. So now, what was the question again? Can you discuss the intersexuality? Oh yeah. So Aoife, and then Mike, briefly, can you discuss the? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think like the sister said, your income, insurance status, age, and racial play a part in what type of treatments you get and misdiagnosis being administered to our people in general. If that answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer.
No, I'm just, yeah. I think that plays a part in what type of treatments you'll get. Yeah.
Okay. Is that Aoife or Mike?
Sister was right. It's Aoife.
Okay. All right. So Mike. Thank you, Aoife.
I do agree to an extent when it comes to a lot of it. I don't think it's necessarily a racial, saying attack when it comes to being, saying targeted. I think they just have this huge demographic where they just really understand who is going to be vulnerable to what they're trying to market. And they just really play on those type of people when it comes to their fears and stuff like that. Like I said, especially when it comes to parents, all you have to do is just, pop up with a commercial about their kids playing happy And next thing you know, they're gonna be like, "Oh, let's go down here and try this because you've been moody lately," and they really don't, say they haven't taken the time to try to find out what's really going on in their life. Um, I say I money does come down into play a lot of it because I said when you're feeling down and out and you want to do something about it. I mean, if you feel like that's your last resort is going down there and getting some medication, then that's what you're going to do. If you're desperate, then you're going to go down there and you're going to pay for that bottle.
Mm. Okay. Did everybody answer that question before I move on to the next and last question? I don't want to miss anybody. So I guess everybody answered that. And then my final question. Jesus Christ, I just had it. What alternatives to traditional medication and therapy have you found effective in managing mental health challenges? And how can individuals explore these options? Like, besides what the pharmaceutical company give us, what alternative medicine do you think could work? Yeah.
What you say? I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said, what alternatives to traditional medication and therapy have you found effective in managing mental health challenges? And how can individuals explore these options?
Herbs, eating healthy, working out, abstaining from drugs and alcohol, meditation,
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
Okay, thank you. T. Lachey?
I agree with Yaya, but I think before getting to that point, they would need a strong support system with a clear head to be able to first help them internalize self love to identify their issues at what is making them feel the way they feel. Because if it's something, once again, that we ourselves can work on, I would say that. And following up with everything Yaya said, because at the end of the day, not everything that we go through means that we're literally crazy, that we're literally with some mental issue when we can fix a lot of it ourselves if we have the proper support system around us who knows what to say, and how to do, and not try to push us off to medication and misdiagnosis and taking things that aren't generally for that part of where we need it. Sometimes the mental illness, see, we feel from what we think. You see something first before you feel. So if you see it and you believe it, you will feel it. Mental health may show up in the brain, but it starts in the heart. Your pain is within you.
All right. Go ahead, girl. Let me tell you, because I just wanted to say this also. And dang, what was I going to say? Just like she said, a lot of mental health, though, especially in the Black community, it's just a lot of suppressed trauma. Once you release that and learn how to release that, you will begin to feel better mentally, because you think about it as stress, think about it as carrying all these different things that happen to you for years and years, and never just letting it go in your mind and just truly being happy. Mental, it's your mind. If you release that, you will feel better. I'm not saying in all instances and in all cases, because a lot of people and some people do need medication to balance out their hormones or the chemicals, but a lot of times it's a lot of built up trauma that you can just release.
Right. Uh, who's next? Hitster?
I'm not a professional. What will work and what won't work. Just not a fan of any type of drugs. I would hope, or I guess I would be more inclined to suggest more holistic type uh, remedies, more natural herbs, if possible, to bring back the balance in life mentally, if that's what it's supposed to do and that's its purpose. But at the end of the day, I just feel like that what I always say is we need to deprogram and reprogram. A lot of our depression and mental anguish just comes from our circumstances. And I think if we change our circumstances, we'll become better for it.
Mike?
Yeah, I think that's very true. Um, I think one of the big things, at least for me, I said, just speaking on my instance from when I was a kid, being misdiagnosed, one of the things that helped me with my OCD tendencies was actually reading books. So, saying because I was just had that overactive imagination, I found something to do with my time. I found a way to treat myself, to medicate myself. Basically, I did whatever I could to give myself room to grow. And it's not necessarily, let's say, even when it comes to these treatments, yes, you can take something that's going to alter that chemical balance, and sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it might not work. But it's more important to find a long-term treatment. Let's say you might never find a cure for whatever you're going through in life, whatever type of trauma that, it necessarily affected you, but you can find a way to, like I said, medicate yourself through life, to be able to just find that activity, that hobby, be like, okay, this is what I do to disconnect from it all.
Okay, thank you for that, Mike. Ifa?
Yes, I'm here. I would say basically acupuncture and meditation and pet therapy. I think that's very helpful. Like a comfort dog. I see a lot of people make advancements in mental health by having comfort dogs. It eases anxiety and things of that nature.
Okay, that's a good alternative. Um, let me mute your mic, Ifa, real quick for me. So thank you guys. I would think because I was thinking about Dr. Sabi, and then also thinking about what my husband be telling me about when it comes to cleansing the body. So my recommendations would be like to eat your bitter leaves. It's called bitter leaves, but the bitter leaves consist of like kale, spinach, greens like mustard greens, collard greens, things of that nature. He also talked about the kalawala plant, which is hard to find, and it's another one I can't think of the name, but like doing like cleansing, like detoxing, fasting, like you guys said, meditation, cleansing your body, because sometimes these chemical imbalance is because of all the filth and the dirt that we put in our bodies, and not really cleansing our bodies and fasting and cleaning our bodies out. Also, like learning how to practice on have being a problem solver, or understanding where other people are coming from instead of being quick to temper and anger and stuff like that. Those will be my remedies. But I'm about to get up out of here, and I want to get everybody's final thoughts, if that's possible. And I'm gonna start with Yaya. What's your final thoughts on the show?
My final thought is that it was a good show, and that just don't look for medication as your first line of defense. Get different opinions, or don't take the first diagnosis that a doctor gives you. Get different opinions. Monitor yourself over a period of time to see if this is truly what's happening. Don't just accept what they tell you because you told them something about yourself the first day. If you say you were depressed, just wait. See, get a calendar, write down how many days you've been depressed this month or next month, so you can get an accurate diagnosis, or for whatever you feel like you may be going through. Just monitor your own self before you just let the doctor or somebody else tell you what's wrong with you, and they only know what you're telling them at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Ifa? What's your final thoughts, brother?
Great show, and it needs to be talked about more in our community. I can't stress it anymore. Our community really don't want to deal with mental health like they should. I'm just saying, but
I think I
and
need to
every
do part two, Ifa. I do, but
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like I'm not in a
yeah,
space right now because, like,
it would be wonderful. Yeah,
yeah,
and I also want to give a shout out to the panel and how everybody conducted themselves and the knowledge that they had and the knowledge that they disseminated. Great talk, y'all. Great.
thank you for joining us. Mike, what's your final thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I will say that I definitely agree with you when it comes to the cleansing part. I do take a probiotic myself, and I just say, when your body feels great, mentally you are in a better mood, especially when you're just not irritated by all those little things, especially when it comes to digestive problems, take care of yourself when it comes to stuff like that. And yeah, you will feel a little bit better about yourself just under normal circumstances when you actually feel more healthy. And just trying to stay involved, trying to find an activity that's gonna you know challenge you, saying, to the next day. Because when it comes to stuff like depression, that's really like one of the hardest things, is just trying to find something to get you from one moment to the next. So if you find that activity, that's gonna keep you busy, keep you active, then you can actually start to make some progress. I said, just give yourself some time.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate that. Uh-oh. I done turned my damn. Are you guys still there? Okay, I
Yep.
turned my computer off for a second. Hista, final thoughts, brother.
Well, they always recommend detoxing the body, but we can't forget about detoxing the mind. And I think that detoxing the mind comes with turning off the TV, turning off the radio of toxic entertainment. Um, Cleanliness, keeping a clean environment. I know I always feel good in a clean environment. I always feel good when I get out the shower. Um, and being able to talk to somebody, finding somebody that you can interact with, who can understand and empathize what you're going through. Thank you, everybody on the panel. It was a very nice show today.
Thank you for joining us, Hista. Tina Shay, final thoughts.
Yes. Great show as always. And I think a highlight of mental health was very much needed. Um, Detoxing the mind, detoxing the body is all a great way. It really is. But I also want to say to anyone out there, if you are going through anything as a parent or a child, seek the help that doesn't hurt you. Sometimes the help around us will hurt us. It has to be to a point where the mindset is better, because depression comes from a mindset that was already there. Something in that young child or that adult's mind was already shifted in the wrong place to allow them to want to kill themselves in the first place. I do agree, do not shun children away. They may be children, but they are human. They are people too. They want to be heard.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Tina.
everyone on the panel. It was nice, and I'm
Yes, it
grateful
was
for
a
everybody
beautiful
being here.
show.
Yes, I'm so grateful to have everybody on here. You guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe the video. Like, share, and subscribe to the whole effing show. Like, share, and subscribe to Mika Wash, MEikaAWASH, on YouTube and all social media platforms. In conclusion, okay, our journey through the complexities of mental health, misdiagnosis, self-medication, and trauma has shed a light on the urgent need for compassion, understanding, and action. By confronting stigma, advocating for systemic change, and prioritizing accessible, culturally competent care, we can pave the way toward the future where mental wellness is prioritized, continue to challenge assumptions, amplify diverse voices, and work together to create a world where everyone can thrive emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Thank you guys for joining us. And I'm Mika Wash. This is Shooting the Shit.
Show who you are. Good riddance. Is your kid in bit the forbidden? As it was written, you overbidden. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, I'm forgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, spades I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era of a glance in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. Antarctica, cold as ice. Casted locks, rolling dice. Mean as nails, I'm nothing nice. They persecuted me like they rejected Christ.